Hi, this is Mrs. Brode, and we're going to close out Unit 4 with a lesson on graphs and functions. So we may have to interpret some graphs, sketch out some graphs, things like that. So let's go ahead and start with our first example. A shoe store is having a sale. The first pair of shoes sells for $40. The second pair sells for half price, or $20. The next pair sells for half of that, and so on. So we're going to make a table showing the cost of 1 to 5 pairs of shoes. So I'm going to go ahead and number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to figure out the total cost if we were to buy 1 pair, 2 pairs, 3 pairs, and so on. So remember that in a table, X is in the first column and Y is in the second column. So we're going to try to figure out our cost. Well, they told us, and I'll go ahead and put dollars here. They told us that the first pair of shoes was $40. So 1 pair cost us $40. Well, then if we buy 2, we get the first pair for $40 and the second pair for half of that, or $20. So 2 pairs for $60. So then if we were to buy 3 pairs, we still have to pay $40 for the first, $20 for the second, but then it's half of the $20, so we only pay $10 for that third pair of shoes. So we pay $70. And then for 4 pairs of shoes, $40 for the first, $20 for the second, half of that, $10 for the third, and half of that, $5 for the fourth, for $75. So this is my type of shoe sale. I like this shoe sale. And then for 5, 40, 20, 10 for the third, 5 for the fourth, and half of 5, so only $2.50 for the 5th pair. And so that's going to be $77.50. So why wouldn't you buy the 5th pair? It's only $2.50 more than buying 4. Okay, so the blank depends on the blank. So remember that Y always depends on X. So if we look at our table here, the total cost depends on the number of pairs of shoes. So another way that we would write this is Y is a function of X. So again, we would say the total cost is a function of the number of pairs of shoes. So below I'll write Y is a function of X, or Y depends on X. So now that we've got that, which one's the independent variable? Well, if we know that Y depends on X, then X would be the independent variable, and that would be the number of pairs of shoes. And just in case you forget, I'm going to go ahead and write X under independent. So that must mean the dependent is the Y, or the total cost. So we do have it in table form. Now they're asking for it in ordered pairs. So we would just write our X and our Y. So 1 pair, $40. Don't worry about the dollar signs in your ordered pairs. 2 pairs, $60. 3 pairs, $70. 4 pairs, $75. And 5 pairs, $77.5. So the next thing we need to do is we need to sketch a graph. So if we remember from science, you've probably talked about tails. Tails means that you need the T is a title. A is your axis labeled. I is increments. You want them to be the same. And then L, label the increments. And S is for your scale. So I know a lot of times in science they say use a meaningful title. For this, you can just call it shoe sale. And then I'm going to label my x-axis for what it is, and it is the number of pairs of shoes. And then my y-axis is my total cost, and that would be in dollars. So I'll just write that in parentheses. So increments, well, for shoes, I'll just label them 1, 2, try to make them as evenly. We're just sketching this 1 through 5. And let's see, we got to go from 1 to almost 80. So maybe we need to go from 40 to 80. So maybe we go in increments, let's say 20. And I'm going to go up to 100. All right, so the next part is to plot our points. So for one pair, it costs $40. 2 pairs, was it 60? 3 pairs was in between the 60 and the 80. 4 pairs, slightly higher than that. 5 pairs, slightly higher than that. So you can see it's starting to level off. We paid a lot for that first pair, but as we increased, we did not have to continue to pay as much. You wouldn't necessarily have to connect the points on this one. This is a discrete graph. You can't buy 1.5 pairs, so you could leave the points separated. All right, so let's look at our next example. A balloon is being inflated with air. As more air is pumped into the balloon, the volume increases until it finally bursts. Make a sketch of a graph of this situation. So first we have to figure out how we would label our x and our y. We know that y depends on x. So what depends on what? Does the volume depend on the amount of air, or does the air depend on the amount of volume? Well, the volume of the balloon depends on how much air we put in the balloon. So volume would be my y, the amount of air would be my x. So let's go ahead and label volume, amount of air. If you wanted to give it a title, we could say volume of balloon or something along that line. And we could even come down here and go ahead and fill in our independent variable, the amount of air in the balloon. And then our dependent variable, which is the volume of the balloon. So we need to sketch a graph. So the balloon is being inflated with air. So you would think as the more air we put in, the higher the volume gets. But then it tells us it reaches a point where the balloon finally burst. So we could sketch something as we put it in, it increases, then it could just drop. Okay, something along that line. That would indicate that yes, the balloon burst, there's no more air in the balloon. You could make it more drastic of a drop if you needed to. Something along that line. So everybody's going to sketch it slightly different, but it should still be the same general concept. So the blank is a function of the blank, and we said the y is a function of x. So the volume is a function of the amount of air. Okay. All right, and then we've got one last question where we're going to interpret some graphs here. We have, for a certain time, Lucy jogs uphill at a steady speed, then she runs down the hill and picks up her speed. Match the graph to the situation. So we have to think about what's happening. She's running uphill at a steady speed, which means at the same constant, at the same speed. And then she runs downhill and she gets faster. So notice that this is a time versus speed graph. So when the speed over time is like this, that indicates that it's constant. It's not changing. Her speed is not changing. And then over time, it's increasing right there. So that's what graph 1 says. So graph 2 shows here it's increasing. And then her speed starts to decrease. And then on graph 3, it shows increase. And then it shows that her speed is steady. So which one of those graphs matches our situation? It says she jogs uphill at a steady speed. So she starts out steady. And then she runs downhill and picks up her speed. So if you look, graph number 1 shows a steady speed and then an increase. Now, it can be a little confusing because a lot of people look at graph 2. Because if you only think of uphill and downhill, you would say, well, she's going uphill, she's going downhill. But remember that the graph is based on speed, not on how they're traveling uphill or downhill. So number 2 would not be a good fit. And number 3, she's increasing her speed first, then she's going steady. So this one is backwards from what the situation. So it's super important on a graph to always read what each axis means in interpreting a word problem like that.